I hear a lot the term cheap watch bandied about in the watchmosphere, but then the dollar amount that's referenced in that same breath doesn't sound like a cheap watch to me. So, what actually is the dollar amount of a cheap watch? Welcome to the Watchmosphere. We have a lot to talk about. So, I hear this a lot: cheap watch, cheap watch. And it could be a cheap watch like cheap as in affordable or a reasonable price or an entry level price or a low cost, or it could be a cheap watch like it's a junky watch, like it's made out of um, you know brass, or it's the movement is whatever they fished out of some bargain bin somewhere in the factory in China, um, or that's it's a cheap acrylic crystal. So what is that? Because when I hear cheap watch, I have a dollar amount in my head, and it's like $10, which is kind of rare, really, unless you're on AliExpress or Temu, and then God knows what you get. But I hear this, and I heard this recently from one of my favorite YouTubers in the watchmosphere. $500 was a cheap watch. $500, really? That's a lot of money to me. I don't know. I again, I'm a three-figure collector. I don't ever go above that, and to be honest, I really don't. I really have to debate going over 500. So cheap watch to me is my max in many cases. And so when I hear people say cheap watch, it's like, is it? Is it a cheap watch? Or have we gotten so normalized by the idea that an entry level price for a watch is $15,000 and that it's perfectly okay to spend $80,000, $100,000 on a watch and even more, even higher? We see the celebrities walking around recently at the Super Bowl, and all these guys are rolling in wearing these, $1 million watches. But frequently I question that. I think obviously Daniel Craig wears the entire Swatch Group line, but for me, it was like when I saw Idris Elba wearing the Brew watch. I just thought that was so cool because he'd worn other watches from like the really ultra luxury brands, and so to wear that I thought was um, I I just don't think $500 is cheap, and I would really caution people to think about what you're saying when you say that. Cheap watch, $500. Those two things do not fit together. $500 is grocery money for some people. $500 could be your gas, your electric, and your internet or your cell phone combined. That could be your utilities for the month. Um, $500 could be half your rent. If you're living with somebody, it could be your whole rent. Um, Depending on where you live. And so I think this obviously this is a hobby of expendable income, and because of expendable income, that means we have had the advantages of a steady income. And so I just really want to. This is a shorter video today. I wanted to get something out. I'm working on something that's a little more involved and it's taking longer, and I wanted to get something out today. So I wanted to bring this up because it's just been on my mind because I saw something a few days ago and it just stuck in my head. It's like we've got to stop saying that $500 watches aren't cheap. In the greater scheme of things, it is not $100,000 watch. So I just wanted to kind of throw this out there. Shorter video today, but I just want to throw this out there and say, hey, let's think about what we're saying when we say this. Because if a new collector is coming into this hobby and they come out to the watchmosphere to get more information, and that information again normalizes this idea that you don't have a watch collection if you haven't spent $5,000, $10,000 on every watch you bought. And then at the same time, we say, don't get yourself in debt. But then you go out to these retail places and they have the availability of financing right off the bat. It makes it seem like a good idea. And it makes it seem like it's something that you're supposed to do in order to have a watch collection. You can have a watch collection made up of quartz watches. You can have a watch collection made up of Swatch or Timex. You can have a watch collection made up of things you got in an estate sale that are 50 years old, 100 years old. That can be a watch collection. that could be our watch collection, and we wear what we love, and the things that speak to us, and we put it on, and we feel really, yeah, I like this. This is a good watch for me. That's the key. Just something I wanted to throw out there today. It's been in my mind. I have another video coming. I wanted to post it on Tuesday. It's taking a long time to edit it. And I just wanted to make sure my sources were correct. So coming soon, but at any rate, in the meantime, stay complicated, and we'll see you in the Watchmosphere. Have a good day.